Hi, my name is Tamta and welcome to My Kitchen, Her Story, where we celebrate all things female leadership. Today's guest is a representative of a very shiny, glamorous, sparkly industry. She went from wanting to be an editor to working at Vogue to launching her own company to then go ahead and work with some of the largest luxury goods organizations in the world, such as LVMH. Please meet the founder of LDT Luxury Communications, Louise De Turckheim.
That could be like, throwing things at you, next to you. Oh my God, it's quite powerful.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
No, thank you for coming. I'm so excited.
Me too, me
And
too.
May I just say, before we even go into anything, you look gorgeous.
Thank you. This is a really old Le Smoking suit designed by Louise De Turckheim, who is the muse of Mr. Yves Saint Laurent. And I got it when I used to work with her in Paris, I think like 20 years ago, maybe more. And I still have it, and luckily I still fit into it. So.
I mean, I talk about sustainable fashion.
Yeah,
Still you reusing
no,
it
exactly. Thank you.
But also the whole point of buying a high quality pieces that last you lifetime.
Yes, no, exactly.
Anyway, too much I guess around what we're wearing, but I also try to like match your
You look amazing. I love this outfit.
Little black number.
Exactly, black ninjas.
Black ninjas. Louise, so although we are going to be talking so much about you, your background, your business,
yes.
But we are also at the same time obviously cooking little delicious dish. And tell me what are we cooking today?
So we're making a chicken Milanese with a parmesan and breadcrumb coating. Okay. And then we're going to do a rocket and parmesan salad to balance out, the chicken Milanese with a 3-color tomato side salad.
Love it.
Yeah.
Nice and fresh with a bit of a protein in there.
Yes, exactly. I'm not big on carbs.
And look what I got for you.
Yeah.
When I knew that we were going to be making chicken Milanese.
Yeah. Oh yes, the hammer.
The hammer. We're going to be hammering this chicken out. Sorry, chicken.
Yeah, no, okay. Exactly.
So, let me know, what do you want me to get started with?
So, if you want, you can get 3 little, or like smaller plates, or like kind of low bowls in which we're going to put some flour, eggs, and shaved, and the breadcrumbs and the grated parmesan.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
let's get started.
Okay,
I
put that there.
would love to hear so many things from you, but when I was talking to you about this interview,
yes,
and we were talking about your background, industry you're in, and I was very excited. I was like, oh my God, we're gonna be talking glitz and glam, and you're in such a glamorous industry, and you are like, well, it's actually not so glamorous. So first of all, tell me, I know, but tell the audience, what's your industry?
Sure.
And why is it so not glamorous?
So I've been working in the luxury goods industry for coming up to 20 years. Okay. I did the first half of my career in Paris. I originally started as working for British Vogue in London, but then I did 10 years working in the fashion industry in Paris, and then came back to London, and I've been working in London the past 10 years. And it is a glamorous industry, don't get me wrong, but it's a superficially glamorous industry. So it's 100% glamorous if you're the consumer. You walk into, Chanel, Dior, it doesn't have to be one of those, but it could be sort of a more boutique brand, but a brand that understands the whole luxury experience, and you will have 100% luxury experience. But when you're working in that industry, there's a very big difference between, being the consumer, enjoying fashion or luxury, luxury goods, and thinking, therefore, I should make a career out of this, and then actually working in that industry and being permanently in like, let's call it the backstage of the industry, and all the experiences that you're going to go through, and which I laugh about now, and the people you're going to come across, and the way you might be spoken to, or things that might happen to you. Did you ever watch the film The Devil Wears Prada?
I mean, obviously, loved it.
Yeah, so at the time, a lot of my friends who didn't work in that industry, maybe they were lawyers, bankers, or whatever, were like, oh, what an amazing film, how hilarious, like, but you know, it's a film, like, that's not what it's really like, you know, working in the fashion industry. And I was like, are you kidding? I was like, not only is that what it's like, but that film did not go, you know, far enough in terms of the things that I have personally like seen. And
I want to hear some of your most grindy stories. Is that a word? Some of the most unglamorous stories. Just an example to give people a flavor.
In terms of like, well, first of all, I think you have to realize that you're dealing with some creative personalities. Obviously, they're, you know, creative geniuses. And whether you're a mathematical genius or a creative genius, you know, it's a special type of persona to be such a genius. And that sometimes come with certain like creative, you know, flares. So that could be like, you know, throwing things at you, next to you. And I mean, luckily I've never personally been on the receiving end of that. But no one's ever thrown something at me. But I've witnessed things being thrown, you know, at other people. I witnessed people being, you know, I suppose these days one would say like physically harmed. Is a slap a physical harm? Yes, it is. So yeah, yes. Although back in, you know, in the sort of noughties, things, it seems like yesterday, and yet it's not so far away that things were so widely accepted, which now would never ever, you know, even be considered or accepted. You would never treat, at least I hope not, an employee, you know, in that way, no matter what industry you're working in.
Oh, you're going in with that hammer.
Yes, we have to flash it. Oh my God, it's quite powerful. This is a great therapeutic exercise.
Yeah,
no matter what industry
get
you
all
work
the
in.
frustration.
You can think of every toxic person you worked with, worked for. So I don't know if I'm supposed to give instructions along the way, but you need to put the chicken, your piece of chicken, inside 2 sheets of baking paper.
Okay.
And then put it on a safe surface, like the wood, for example, that also isn't going to slide around or slip. So make sure that, you know, it's secure. And then you want to take a rolling pin, or ideally like one of these hammers. Why are you laughing?
It's because in her instructions, when I was like, so what do you need to make this dish? And she was like, a rolling pin. And I was thinking like, I could just see us being here like, and it's not rolling out and chicken is too thick. And I was like,
no, you need to bash it. You need to bash it until it's about half the thickness. So where was I?
So we were talking about people.
We were talking about the creative industry.
Throwing things.
So
but, you know, it's not all that, right?
No,
like,
it's not all that. It's just like it's a lot of you know. I think younger generations, like the fashion luxury goods industry, seems very glamorous the way it's portrayed, especially these days on social media, through celebrities, through events that, you know, are widely covered by all types of media these days, and it really can look like, oh, I want to work for, let's say, a fashion brand, and I will get to attend all these fashion shows and sort of mix with, you know, key opinion leaders and thought leaders and, you know, and celebrities. But actually, it's a huge amount of work on all different time zones, because you're dealing with the States, you can be dealing with Asia, you know, with the Middle East. And it's a lot of physical work as well, the amount of boxes, cartons.
Carrying around?
Yeah, that I've had to lift, unpack, repack. The amount of times, obviously not recently, but when I was younger, you know, chasing a FedEx van down the road in Paris, trying to get like this guy to take this enormous ball gown so that it would be shipped to LA in time for a celebrity to wear to the Oscars. Which now all seems hilarious. Or also, you know, at the time that probably wouldn't fly these days, are being paid in kind of like clothes and bags, because they think, you know, you're like the intern or the junior, and therefore like you'll accept like anything that's going.
That comes your way,
yeah,
right?
No,
because
exactly.
It's a luxury.
Yeah.
But how was your time at British Vogue?
British Vogue was amazing. I was obsessed with fashion when I was younger, and all I wanted to do was work in the fashion industry. And I think I was too young to understand like if I wanted to be an editor or this or that. But I had suddenly sort of decided being obsessed with fashion magazines, that somehow I wanted to be inside these magazines that I was
Right.
reading and like obsessively collecting. And I wrote to the editor of British Vogue, who was Alexandra Schulman at the time, letters and letters and letters and letters. And
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Wait,
You know,
did you do it like handwritten letters? Or
Yeah, they were handwritten, because back in the day, I mean, it was like...
Did you not slide into her DMs?
It didn't exist back in the day. We didn't even have the internet. No, the internet was just starting. And so it was like a good old-fashioned letter, you know, written with a pen and paper and stamped and posted. And then finally, you know, they called me in, and the managing editor saw me and said, you know, you're a bit too young to, you know, have an internship, but, you know, we'll get back to you, like, you know, when you're 18. And then somehow I'd managed to meet along the way through a family connection, Tamara Yeardai, as she then was, who, you know, now is Tamara Mellon. And who developed the Jimmy Choo brand with Mr. Jimmy Choo. She was the accessories editor of Vogue at the time. And so I also begged her to take me on as her assistant, but you know, she was about to leave to go to Jimmy Choo, so that didn't work either. So I carried on with my letter writing.
You did?
And then finally, one day I was like, I'm 18, like I can come and work here now. You can't say no to me.
Did you go and like remind them?
Yeah, I wrote them another letter.
Right.
And then finally they were like, oh, okay, fine, like we'll give you an internship. So I had my internship there, assisting one of the fashion editors. And I think that's probably good now.
That's a good.
What do you think? Or should we make it thinner? Do you like it really thin?
I mean, no, I think like that. I mean, that looks good to me. I don't know. Does it look good to you?
It's about half the width.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just give it like a little bit extra. Make sure we're all therapized for this week.
Yep.
Okay.
Love it. So you wrote them a letter.
So
you got in.
I got in, and then basically I was amazed. It was like literally being inside Vogue, and the most extraordinary personalities of the day, like Isabella Blow, the fashion muse, who discovered Alexander McQueen, Philip Tracy, many other designers, and she would storm down the hallways. She was fashion director of Tatler at the time, I think, and she would storm down the hallway. Was wearing these amazing Anthony Price outfits, you know, these bodices, you know, they were instantly recognizable, and these enormous Philip Tracy shipwreck hats and lobster hats and all the things he was famous for at the time.
Right.
And yeah, it was an incredible experience. Yeah, just seeing that side of things.
Love that.
Yeah.
So. You got into British Vogue, but then how did you get out?
So then I was offered a role in Paris with Louise De Turckheim, the lady who designed this suit. She was, because she's sadly no longer with us, but she was the muse of Mr. Yves Saint Laurent for more than 30 years. She was a French national icon. Actually, Lulu's in 5 Hertford Street is named after her.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Lulu de la Falaise is part of, or was part of Robin Burley's family. So Lulu's is named after her. And she was a huge French national icon. Was half French, half English. She was famous for having partied with Robert Mapplethorpe and Andy Warhol in the 70s in New York. Just this incredibly illustrious historical part of, you know, big fashion moments. And so I thought, God, nothing could be better than working with someone like that, even though it was crossing over into PR as opposed to being a fashion editor, which is what I originally wanted to do. And
is that how you ended up getting into PR?
Yes, yeah, because I wanted to work with her so much because she was part of a generation that included Yves Saint Laurent, you know, Pierre Cardin, Karl Lagerfeld, all these big names where it was starting to be the end of that generation. And I thought that was my perhaps one and only opportunity to work with someone living, you know, from that epoch, who was still able to tell me first-hand stories about people like Andy Warhol and Robert Mapplethorpe. And she introduced me to Mr. Saint Laurent. She introduced me to Mr. Pierre Berger, who was
Oh my
Saint
God,
Laurent's partner.
this is like,
Yeah.
I mean, my mind is going crazy right now with all these images of you meeting these amazing creatives.
It was, for someone who was obsessed with fashion, it was incredible to meet those people who, you know, are now no longer with us, and we can go to those museums and learn about them, but to have actually met them in the flesh. She introduced me to Inès de la Fressange, who was another big fashion muse in Paris and France. She was the muse of Karl Lagerfeld, and it was just an incredible time.
That's incredible. So that's how you got into PR?
So that's how I got into PR. So basically, it was pretty straightforward press relations. You know, influencers didn't exist in those days as we know them today. You know, and when we say influencers, we're pretty much talking about a digital influencer who has a large following on social media.
Right.
But people forget that the word, you know, influencer comes from someone of influence, and anyone can be an influencer if they're able to influence other people and enough people, you know, whether you're like a politician, you know, or an actress. So back in the day, you know, fashion editors were the original influencers, so we would often have Anna Wintour coming round, for example.
Just casually, Anna Wintour. It's like, hey Louise, how you doing?
It was just incredible to see all these people that I've been reading about for such a, you know, growing up as a teenager, you know, in the flesh.
What was Anna Wintour like? Spill the tea.
She is very matter of fact. I mean, you know, I didn't spend enough time with her to speak about her in an intimate manner, but from what I perceived her to be, she was like, she seemed kind, but businesslike, you know, to the point, doesn't like to waste time. I don't like to waste time either.
I think neither of us do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I
great.
also like to just get to the point. She's definitely someone who is very focused on the business side of fashion, which I think sometimes people also forget when they want to launch a fashion brand or a luxury brand, and they're just thinking about the branding side of it. But who's going to run, you know, the business element? And it's very rare to find someone who's both right brain and left brain, you know, hence why somebody like a designer of today, like Jacques Mus, you know, has someone like running his business as a CEO. And then, you know, back in the day, it was somebody like Yves Saint Laurent, and his business partner was Pierre Berger, which allowed the creatives, you know, to just be, you know, creative. But you see all these brands closing down all of the time. And of course, if you're not concentrated on the business side of fashion, then, you know, that will happen. There's so much competition. Okay, so now we want to, maybe we need another
Does it go
fork.
First in flour?
So it goes first in flour.
Should I get in with my hands?
Yeah, you can get in with your hands.
Right?
Yes.
Fine. And then
you want to coat it both sides.
Coat it in flour, then in egg.
In egg, and then we're going to put it in the
Sprinkle
parmesan and this mix. We're going to mix this up.
This
is the grated parmesan with the breadcrumbs.
Okay.
So you want about a quarter of parmesan gratings compared to the amount of breadcrumbs, but you know, everything is to taste. So if you decide after having done this recipe that you would have preferred it, you know, to be more parmesan, obviously do what you want.
You just adjust to your taste.
Yeah, I'm just going to get a fork to mix this up.
Yep.
So then from Lulu de la Falaise, which was very much, you know, I don't think hopefully she would have minded me saying this, but it was definitely a brand that was focused on the creative side, as in, you know, that was a generation where they were truly trying to create something, and then you had designers like Marc Jacobs who were starting to come in, you know, in the 90s, early noughties, who had understood that things need to, you know, have marketing driving them. So as in, if this color is going to be hot next year, we are going to produce a collection in that color, as opposed to what's new in fashion that's never been done before, and let's try and create that.
Got it.
So she was the kind of last of that generation. So then I went to work with one of the top luxury PR companies in Paris called DM Media, owned by an American lady called Dovi Mamakunian, who's definitely one of my mentors. Okay. And she really taught me about the business of fashion in terms of running a business, driving a business, and developing it.
I'm going in with my hands.
Oh yes.
It's too late.
Oh yes. No, you have to. You have to. Okay. So now you're going to coat it both sides in this breadcrumb and parmesan shaving mixture. You're going to make sure it's covered everywhere.
Gotcha.
Very good.
Love it. So
I was running the women's fashion department, and we specialized in launching UK and US brands in France. So we launched brands like Net-a-Porter, Rona Mouret. We also worked with French brands like the couture house Stéphane Rolland. In other departments, we had brands like Diptyque, Dom Pérignon, when Karl Lagerfeld was creative director. So one of my favorite memories of working in the Parisian fashion industry was hosting an event at Karl Lagerfeld's house in the 7e arrondissement, and actually I was asked to look after Jude Law that evening.
Oh, wow.
And be his kind of companion, or I guess, you know.
A guide?
Guide, yes. So again, it probably sounds like a lot of fun and glamour, but it was huge amounts of work and late nights. And then I went on to Elie Saab, the Lebanese couturier who has...
I love Elie Saab.
Yeah, he's amazing. He designed my wedding dress. And
oh, really?
Yes, yes.
And we do have to talk about your wedding and all of that momentarily too.
Yes, and so I went to work with him on PR, and I learned so much about celebrity dressing, which is really part of the brand's DNA, and how important that is in terms of achieving brand awareness for a brand.
What is the single most exciting thing for you about PR?
I think it's the possibility to create something out of nothing, and through the power of storytelling to engage people in order to create something out of nothing. So I've just, through my consultancy, I've just been working on the launch of an entirely new fine jewelry brand called Anuna Jewels, which is...
And I have seen...
And you came to the launch.
I came to the launch, and it was so stunning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anuna Jewels are just such a... They're very intricate pieces. However, they can be very impactful when dressed and styled properly.
Yes, exactly. And so that's an entirely new brand, and being able to get the industry behind it, engaged and wanting to support this entirely new brand, and seeing how PR can achieve that for an entirely new entity is wonderful. But likewise, you know, I also work with David Morris.
Some big, bold,
which I'm wearing today.
Luxury jewels.
These are my favorite earrings from David Morris.
So gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you.
They look like almost like a snowflakes.
Oh yes, I never thought about
because
that.
They're so intricate, but so shiny and sparkly.
They're rose-cut diamonds, and it's a cut of diamond named after rose because it's cut in the shape of rose petals. Yeah.
Now, from back of that, and talking about diamonds, I have a question for you. What do you think about lab-grown diamonds?
So it's a hot topic at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say about it, and there's a lot of greenwashing about it as well. Off the bat, I would have to, caveat by saying neither option is perfect in terms of, sustainability, and neither option is necessarily better than the other in terms of sustainability, because obviously, people complain about that we're mining the earth for these stones and creating pollution in the process, amongst many other grievances that people have with natural mining for natural diamonds and stones.
Right.
But if you look at lab-grown diamonds, the amount of energy, pollution, water it takes to create a diamond, basically in a kind of giant microwave in 2 weeks, is so detrimental, to the planet as well. And when you look at that, you think if you want to be sustainable when you're buying a diamond, and you feel that a mined diamond is not a sustainable option for you, for whatever reason, then perhaps instead of going for a lab-grown diamond, consider buying a second-hand diamond, of which there are many on the market.
Where we in fashion call vintage,
yes,
right?
Exactly. And if you can either find these loose, or you can find them already set in pieces of vintage jewelry, and you can have the ring redesigned, or you can just remove the diamond or the stone, from its original setting.
And then I actually do a lot of that. For example, this ring, I had it repurposed. I had another
beautiful
ring, and it was in white gold. And
I wanted olive oil for this.
I have
to cook. Is it this one?
Yes.
Okay, I was like, is this show olive oil or is it real olive oil?
No, that one. No, we take that off. Okay. So let me switch this on. So yeah, I had it repurposed because I was like, I don't really like the design of the other ring anymore.
Yeah.
But let me just see.
No, exactly. I mean, with lab-grown diamonds, you're talking about creating a diamond in 2 weeks, when Mother Nature and the planet took between 800 million years and 3.4 billion years to create. You know, any diamond you see, whether it's from a highly luxurious brand on Bond Street or it's more of a kind of high street brand, any diamond you see, if it's a natural diamond, it's minimum 800 million years old. And the oldest it can be is 3/4 of the age of the planet, which is 3.4 billion years old.
Oh, wow.
So when you compare that to trying to create the same thing, you know, in a microwave in 2 weeks, you can just imagine, without being a scientist or an environmentalist, like how much pollution it's causing, you know, to the planet.
That's actually, I think, a very interesting point and data point, information that I didn't know, but also I'm pretty sure most people don't. I think a lot of the, I don't want to call it a propaganda, but you know, the adverts that are going around lab diamonds is like, this is better for sustainability, this is just, you know, decreases the amount of labor that's needed. There are questionable labors maybe, and a lot of that kind of fuss around how to mine diamonds. But actually, really, what it takes to produce those diamonds in the lab. And then the other thing that's important to know as well, because people get confused because they think a lab-grown diamond is an alternative to a natural diamond, but it's not a real diamond. So people will say, oh, it's like fake versus real diamond. Is it not fake?
So it's not fake. A lab-grown diamond is an actual diamond. It's if you look at the, you know, the chemical composition, it's exactly the same. It's just that one has been formed naturally when the Earth was created, and the other one was formed in a lab, you know, in a giant microwave.
Can one tell the difference?
So you can tell the difference, not necessarily to the untrained naked eye, although I think probably yes. However, there are machines which can tell the difference. So the machines that most kind of generic retail brands have, just waiting to get a bit hot, will have a machine that will tell you if it's a diamond or not a diamond, for example, like zirconia. But you need a machine of a level above to tell you if it's a natural diamond or a synthetic diamond. So if you ever have a doubt and you go into a jeweler and you want to test your jewelry, ask for a machine that can specifically tell that, because most people just have the one that tells you if it's a real diamond or not.
So there is a possibility of telling lab-grown versus natural diamond. But I think also, you know, actually, I just remembered about a story.
I think we need this.
About a story that you told me when we were catching up. How also a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, hopefully, but there was some instances when a friend of yours took her diamond necklace to a jeweler to have it cleaned, so and then she ended up with fake diamonds.
So her father had given her a Harry Winston Riviere on her wedding day. And you know, it's not something you wear every day. So one day she's like, oh, you know, I'm going to have this, I have a new, you know, jewelry client, not me, her. I'll, you know, take it to them for them to have it cleaned, you know, since we're working together. And when she brought the necklace to them, they said, oh, you know, we're terribly sorry, madam, but this isn't, you know, the setting is real and it's a real Harry Winston setting, but the diamonds are not diamonds. And she'd taken it somewhere to get it cleaned, didn't think anything of it because you wouldn't, and they had switched all of the diamonds for, it would have been zirconia at the time.
Wow.
And it happens a lot more often than you would, you would think.
So you gave me a little tip. On what to do to avoid that, in a way, from happening. Initials.
Oh yes, so you can basically, if you buy a diamond from De Beers, for example, which is another brand I used to work with, they have a De Beers hologram on every single one of their diamonds. So if it gets stolen or you take it to be cleaned, like, you know, you can check that all the diamonds which came back after the cleaning were definitely all De Beers diamonds. Or you can also have your own symbol or initials engraved on the diamond. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny little hologram that you wouldn't see with the naked eye, and you need a microscope to see it, and it doesn't affect the value of the diamond.
Wow. Okay, well, get your diamonds monogrammed, not to have them swapped out for fake. That was I'm sure, a quite traumatic experience for you. So, actually, I have a little tea to spell with you. what your husband said about you when I first met him.
Oh gosh. Oh dear, what did he say? Well, I mean, I trust him to say something nice, but one never knows. Yeah.
No, we were actually, it was the first time we met. It was at the launch of Vanuna Jewels at Caviar Caspia. And
love that place.
I love that place. We were chatting, and somehow we kind of shifted the topic to just generally, you know, women who work, who are entrepreneurial, who work hard, but also at the same time they have families and time to, you know, dedicate portion of their time to their families and partners. And what really struck me was he looked at me and he said, when I first met Louise, I knew that there was nothing she couldn't achieve, and I knew exactly how hardworking and inspirational she was, but also that she had goals. And you know what? I was okay with it. More so, I wasn't just okay with it. I loved that about her.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so sweet.
Are you tearing up?
No.
I think that was just, it was so genuine. It came out of the place of support.
Yeah, he is.
And just a pure admiration.
Yeah, he's like, well, you know, my biggest, like one of my biggest supporters. And I'm really grateful that, you know, he's happy to, you know, for us both to sort of lead and succeed in like our chosen fields, and doesn't, you know, it's not a competition. And I think there are a lot of men still today who perhaps would, you know, want to be the kind of like superior person professionally in the relationship. And also, as we have a daughter, it's also important to me that the example is set for her, that she can, you know, be anything she wants to be, and she has as much right to be successful in that chosen field as, you know, a man or any other gender. Right.
Actually, your journey of having a daughter was not also easy.
Yeah, no, I did have a miscarriage before my daughter, and luckily enough it worked, you know, the next time round. And then I was in a professional situation which caused me to have a miscarriage.
No, wait, rewind.
Yes.
You were in a professional situation that caused you. Was it the stress that caused you a miscarriage? Yes,
it was stress, like amongst other things. I was about to say it's funny, but it's not funny though. But I did, you know, I felt like I was losing my hair actually, like as a result of having worked in this place. So I went to see a sort of celebrity trichologist recently, and he said, well, you're not losing your hair, it's just that your hair was thinning. But he said, you know, and the reason why is, you know, that your body was producing so much cortisol that it caused your hair to thin. But he said, you know, what happened to you between he took a piece of hair from my head and analyzed it under the microscope, and said, you know, specifically what happened to you like between this date and this date. And I was in such shock, because I was like, that's the exact date that I started working with this company, and that's the exact end date that I stopped working with them. And it just shows, like, you know, how science like works. And it was like medical proof in front of me that, you know, that this stress and things that I had experienced, which, you know, stress is this kind of invisible thing, and it's a big word that sometimes people, you know, use, but it doesn't always show itself like in a physical manner. So people say they're stressed or whatever, and they're like, okay, whatever. But there it was, like, you know, in front of me. So
the hard proof.
Yeah.
But also the devastating impact it had on your health.
Yes, exactly.
And it constantly has on so many of us on a daily basis, and we just don't pay enough attention to it.
No, exactly. And that's why I would also say to women, but to everyone, you know, health is the most important, because you can be so obsessed with your career and, you know, trying to get from point A to point B, or to achieving a certain level of success. But if you're not healthy and you can't sustain that success, then what's the point, you know? So I would definitely say due diligence about either people or companies that you're going to work with or for, to make sure that the culture is right, that you're going to enjoy the environment, that, you know, the people have the same mindset as you, that they value their employees and their teams and all this kind of thing before jumping into something.
Wow, this looks delicious. I can't wait to dig into it. Shall we taste test?
Yes, let's taste it and see what the result is.
Let me cut it up for us.
That looks great.
Juicy.
Oh, yes,
Not
exactly.
pink. No salmonella here. Okay.
Perfectly cooked, even if I say so myself.
Yeah. Gosh, guys, I'm just like smashing things up. Okay, let me try to do it in a graceful little pieces that we can.
Yeah, because you could make this and even, do tiny pieces and serve it as a kind of canapé or something like that. There are lots of fun ways to present it.
Right, girlfriend.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay.
I'm gonna do. Woo. Oh my god. I've never made this before. I love it.
I've also, oh my god, I need some water. I just realized we actually forgot to put the salt and pepper.
I did.
No.
I put it in there. I didn't put pepper, but I put salt in the seasoning.
Okay, good, because I was like, it does have a lot of flavour considering I forgot to put salt and pepper. It's actually much easier than it probably looks if you order this in a restaurant.
And actually, it's probably one of the best ones, if I say so myself, that I've tried.
Thank
no
you.
kidding.
That's so kind. I
Because
think
a lot of the times it's kind of thick, too bready,
Yeah.
to this, to that, and I'm just like
Yeah.
feeling very stuffed.
Yeah, and it's all crust and like no chicken. Obviously, you can also do it with pork or other types of meat if you wish. I've never tried it with fish. I would guess that would be a fish finger, but yeah. I suppose you could do
I
that
never
too.
had a salad.
Okay, yeah, let's try a bit of the
This
salad.
is like the most ungraceful thing to eat with rocket. I never know how to eat it. 'Cause it's all over my face.
Rocket's a really bitter leaf, so you need to counterbalance it with something like the Parmesan. And it's
But
also,
that dressing is genius.
do you like it? And it's also not very filling, so that's also why it's good to have some protein like the Parmesan.
Oh,
on
I
top.
love. And we
Yeah,
have some
and then you can have a bit
tomato.
of like, break the,
Oh my god,
the
guys!
flavor with
You will
tomato.
love, all of you. You will love this. I mean, delicious. I'm very tempted to
Delicious.
just like keep pretending that we're filming this so that I can just keep eating it.
This meal always reminds me of Paris Fashion Week or Milan Fashion Week because I feel like it's something that people don't order frequently like back home in London, but you see it often when you go to restaurants for like Fashion Week.
Is it so?
Yeah, I would say so,
Oh.
especially in the cost restaurants and things like that. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Before
Thank
we
you.
finish up, I always love to ask our guests, because you guys are so inspirational and knowledgeable and just amazing. I always love to ask for one advice that you could give to our audience, whether that's just general advice or for a specific group of people.
Yeah, no, of course. I think I've got two bits of advice. One is definitely, when you're starting out in your career and, people are talking to you about getting internships or apprenticeships and you think, oh God, how boring, I have to do this to tick the box, to, like to get my university degree or whatever it might be, those opportunities are there for you to discover if this industry that, you're doing an apprenticeship in is really something that you're interested in, because you can look at it, whether it's, working for a bank or a legal firm, whatever it is, and think, oh, it's just like, Suits on TV or or Devil Wears Prada or whatever. This is gonna be like super fun, but actually when you're in it, perhaps you realize that you want to have a completely different career path, and it's much safer to do that while you're testing things out as an intern or apprentice as opposed to later on. So I would say definitely do like as many internships and apprenticeships as possible, and it also gives you a much broader network of contacts. And then I would also, my second tip would be, never hold back on your determination and giving up, because I was determined to get into Vogue, which was just, a dream from someone who was obsessed with fashion magazines. But, I got there and I ended up working with them and then went on to work for many other incredible fashion brands and jewelry brands and beauty brands in the luxury sphere, and it was all through determination.
Tenacity.
Yes.
Determination.
Yes.
And just keep your eye on the ball and
Yes.
go for it and keep going for it.
Yes, and also I often think, would a man accept this, or what would a man do? And maybe that sounds a little bit sexist or cliche, but the reason I say that is because women often are self-deprecating, or they don't dare to make a bold decision or reach out to a contact in order to sort of like further their career or develop their business, but a man would never hesitate. And so sometimes it's good to think, what would a man do? And I'm going to do the same. And yeah, those would be my tips.
I love that. Thank you so much. And the last bit is, where can our audience find you? Are you on social media? Because some of our guests are, others are not. Where can we get a glimpse of your glamorous, not so glamorous lifestyle and industry?
Sure.
And work?
My Instagram is probably the best place because it's a mix of personal and business, and that's at Louise De Turckheim, so at my name. Although I'm also on LinkedIn, and I have a professional Instagram for my consultancy as well, which is at LDT Communications.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, tune in, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were amazing. Yay.
Thank you.